from the ground floor of the Holiday Inn in beautiful downtown Springfield, where I'm with two friends I served with in the 516th Signal Company way back in 1954. At my left is Peter Koletis. And Pete, tell us where you're from.
I'm now from West Bend, Wisconsin. At the time I served in the 516th, I lived in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, at my right is Richard Klosterman, and Rich, repeat that information.
Okay, I'm originally from North Dakota. As a farmer, I'm now retired and living in a lake with my wife in Minnesota for 6 months, and then we're in Arizona at our home during the winter.
Peter, what was your most memorable experience about the 516th?
The most memorable experience I ever had about the 516th is how I lied my way into it. I originally took basic training and went to jump school with the 101st Airborne Division in this country. And fortunately, just as we graduated from jump school, the Korean War ended. And for some reason, they took everyone whose last name began with K or L and sent them to Europe. And of course, I knew that I would have to be in the infantry for the rest of my days in the service, and I didn't want to spit and polish and parade all the time. So I thought of ways to getting out of the infantry. And when I went to Leghorn, Italy on a troop ship, I was interviewed by a warrant officer, and he asked me if I knew how to type, and I said, yes, sir. And I didn't know how to type. And he said, well, we'll give you a potential military job title of a clerk typist. And by the way, there'll be a typing test in 3 days. They never gave me the typing test, and I was shipped to Salzburg, Austria, where, to make a long story much shorter, I was invited to be the company clerk for the 516th Signal Company until Sergeant Claude Williams discovered I didn't know how to type. And from there, I was given the opportunity to be a wire electronic supervisor in the repair section of the 516th, and that's where I ended up. Loved every minute of it.
Richard, how about yourself?
Well, my military history, I went to Camp Gordon, Georgia for basic, up to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey for camera repair, and I got shipped to Austria too. But while they were giving assignments in Leghorn, Italy, I noticed that they were going to keep me in Leghorn, Italy, and I wasn't going to Austria. So I got back in line again, and of course it was in alphabetical order. When I got to the Z's, all of a sudden here comes Klosterman again. Well, what are you doing here? Well, I told him, I see you're going to keep me in Leghorn, Italy. And I said, I faint from the heat. I can't take the heat. I'd be sick so much of the time. And the guy was just dumbfounded. He couldn't believe, you know, that anybody would do that. And he looked at me, he said, you know, I'm going to send you to Austria, but don't you ever tell anybody that I did it. And I had an opportunity to check my medical records later, and they mentioned numerous complaints. But I got to Austria. That's where I wanted to go. Wonderful, wonderful tour of duty.
Well, my story's a little bit different. When I shipped out of Camp Gordon, Georgia, I was put into field radio repair, and I did not end up in the Signal Corps. I ended up with the 70th Engineers in Saalfeld in Austria. I was there for a while. Then eventually I requested a transfer out because I wanted to get into a signal outfit. And I ended up in the 516th and had a great deal of fun. And I think the first person I met was, talked to was Corporal Bolt. Delmar Bolt, yes. Some of the other guys that were close through there, of course, we all know Tom Armstrong, Rich Matajowski, who is doing the camera work right now, and of course you guys, and there was Gene Smith and
Ron Kelberg.
Ron Kelberg, right? He's here too. Well, we went on many alerts. We all remember those alerts, and they were kind of annoying in that you had to go pack up your vehicles, take all your gear with you, your transmitters, and then you would drive off to some remote outpost and remain there until further notice, a week or two, and go through all kinds of training, communications. How about you, Richard? You remember anything about those?
Yes, I remember them well, and there was an article in the VFW magazine about the reasons for these alerts. Apparently, Marshal Tito at that time was interested in Trieste. They had a dispute with the Italian government, and so Marshal Tito would load up his army, head for Trieste. We'd get the alert. We'd load up our army. We'd head for Trieste, and when Marshal Tito was satisfied that we were serious, then he'd turn around, and then we'd turn around.
Well, Peter, let's change from international diplomacy over to Austrian beer. What do you have to say about Austrian beer?
Gladly. I don't remember the name of the church that many of us would frequent, but in the basement, the monks had a brewery.
Augustinier.
The Augustinier, that's, I think you're right. And they served vegetables and different types of breads if you bought a mug of beer. And that stuff was the most delightful thing I have ever had. My favorite restaurant in Salzburg was a place called the Powandra. I don't know if many of you remember that, but they served things like venison, and they had a delightful pale white wine that they would serve there with their dinners. Of course, there is the Weisses Greusel and the Weisses Kreuz restaurant, where they serve the Balkanska Platsk in Salzburg. And then there was, let's see, the Est served Italian food. There was a Mercedes-Benz dealer in Salzburg, and all of us would walk by his show window and drool over the automobiles. What a comparison between that and a Jeep. Oh yeah, I had a good time in Salzburg.
I'd like to talk about somebody in the outfit who I feel was kind of an enigma. Do you guys remember the name of Vic Fisi?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, Victor.
He was a man of mystery.
Yeah.
What was the story? He went from sergeant to private several times,
several
the
times,
success story.
Yeah.
And something that surprised me about him that I just learned this weekend was that he was at Pearl Harbor. Did you know that?
I didn't know that,
Fisi,
no.
Yeah, Vic Fisi was at Pearl Harbor when it was attacked by the Japanese. So he had been in the service for quite some time, and I understand he's passed on.
Yes, I understand that happened recently.
Yeah.
We always speculated about just what he did. You know, some of us thought that he was some kind of an entrepreneur, that he had a business on the side.
Well, he did. He's the one who was responsible for obtaining the white ceramic mugs personalized with our names and the 5/16 cross signal flag. And when you tipped the mug up to the light, you could see a semi-clad lovely creature in the bottom there.
Oh, yes.
And I still have my mug. It's on display in our display case at home. I treasure that thing.
So that's it for now from Peter Koletis, Henry Chase, and Richard Klosterman. On Friday evening, we went to the U.S. Marine Barracks located at the Naval Yards in Washington, D.C. to see a special presentation of the U.S. Marines stationed there. As soon as darkness fell, the presentation started with a rousing number by the President's own marching Marine band.
Like infantry training, parades and ceremonies, presidential support duties, and serving the non-resident training and education needs of Marines worldwide, and courses developed and administered by the Marines.
The President's Marine Band now holds its position at the left of the field as the Commandant's own Marine Band now takes front stage. The color guard steps forward to present the colors. A drill team of 150 Marines proudly demonstrate their skill with a rifle. The flag lowering ceremony signifies the close of the military day. The President's Marine Band now leads the marching Marines as they pass in review before an enthusiastic audience.